Greg Peterson here, and I want to thank you for listening to the Urban Farm Podcast. We wouldn't be able to keep doing these great shows without you. So as a token of my appreciation, I'd like to offer you access to a list of our top 10 episodes I personally find most inspiring. If you enjoy the Urban Farm Podcast but don't have time to listen to every one, then you will love this list. Although all our guests have great information to offer, if you are short on time, these 10 are must-listens. To get access to the top 10 most inspiring podcast episodes, text FARMER to 44222. That's FARMER to 44222. And enjoy listening.
You're listening to the Urban Farm Podcast, your partner in the Grow Your Own Food revolution. Whether you've just been introduced to urban farming or you're a lifelong advocate, we're sure you'll leave feeling more informed, equipped, and empowered to dig deeper into the soil of your local food economy. With you every step of the way, here's your host, Greg Peterson.
Welcome to the Urban Farm Podcast Chat with an Expert series, a segment that we will periodically do as relevant and newsworthy topics present themselves. In each chat, we will ask an urban farming expert questions related to their area of expertise, diving more deeply into some important issues of our times. Today on our chat, we have Bill McDorman, the Executive Director of Rocky Mountain Seed Alliance in Ketchum, Idaho. Bill got his start in the bioregional seed movement while in college in 1979, when he helped start Garden City Seeds. In 1984, Bill started Seeds Trust High Altitude Gardens, a mail-order seed company he ran successfully until he sold it in 2013. He authored the book Basic Seed Saving in 1994. Then in 2010, he and his wife, Belle Starr, created Seed School, a nationally recognized week-long training. He also served as Executive Director of Native Seed Search from 2011 to 2014. Bill is a passionate and knowledgeable presenter who inspires his audience to learn to save their own seeds. Welcome to the show today, Bill.
Hello, Greg. I'm really happy to be here. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thanks for being here again. And this is one of our new features. It's a chat with an expert, and we're going to bring up all kinds of really cool things that are going on out in the world today. And I want to start with the Mountain West Seeds Summit. That's something that Rocky Mountain Seed Alliance is doing. Can you tell us about that?
Well, it's the culmination of the 3 years of hard work that we've done to try to find the people that are actually saving seeds and starting to share them again in the Rocky Mountain region. The goal of the organization is to have all the seeds for the Rocky Mountain West come from the Rocky Mountain West.
Nice.
Yeah, so we thought it would be fun and very advantageous for us all to come together and see each other, meet each other, share seeds and stories and needs. And so we can all go back to our respective regions and get back to work. So that's really the underlying reason for the summit.
Beautiful. So this is the Mountain West Seed Summit, sponsored by the Rocky Mountain Seed Alliance. It's called Honoring Origins and Seeding the Future. It's March 3rd and 4th, 2017 in Santa Fe, New Mexico. And I assume that people can still get in, right?
Oh, yeah, you can. Go to RockyMountainSeeds.org. and you'll find handy links to sign up. You can sign up for the 2-day conference. We've got 1-day passes. We try to make it as easy as we can for you. We've negotiated with the Santa Fe Hotel right downtown, old Adobe hotel that's going to take care of us, so you'll be within walking distance of everything else Santa Fe. And you know, we're representing the whole Rocky Mountain West, and obviously we're at the southern end of it.
Yeah.
To have our conference. There's a couple of reasons for that. One is that, you know, wintertime is when people have more time for conferences, and
right.
There's still a lot of snow up north, and so this will be a good chance for people to come down out of that snow a little. And I personally wanted the conference in the Southwest. My own experience down here tells me that there's something really profound and deep and meaningful and powerful about tapping into agriculture that's more than 1,000 years old, and that's what you find in the Southwest. And so most of us mountain folks, you know, grew up in mountain towns that haven't been around for maybe even 100 years. Mm-hmm. And so So to get started for the very first Mountain West Seed Summit, I wanted it to at least understand and maybe hopefully be influenced in a positive way by some of the deep, I'll call it spirit, that's alive and well still in the Southwest around seeds. And so that's what we're going to really hopefully uncover. And that's the honoring origins part of the conference.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm on the website, the webpage for that, RockyMountainSeeds.org, and I'm looking at the list of people that are going to be there, and it's jaw-dropping who you have there. I mean, Bill McDorman's going to be there.
Well, yeah, they still let me come.
Who are some of the other people? I mean, I see Casey O'Leary, I see Christy Orr, I see Flor de Mayo, I see Dan Hobbs. You know, these are people that are epic in the seed movement.
Well, you know, and you're right, and it's going to be there will have never been anything quite like this as far as a gathering of real seed stewards for this region. You know, we've gone way out of our way to develop relationships and to invite people. But the surprising thing to me, Greg, is people like Andrew Kimbrell, who's, you know, director of the Center for Food Safety in Washington, D.C., actually asked if he could come and present.
Wow.
And so why would somebody on a national level try to come, you know, to a regional seed event like this? And I think the reason is that in the end, you know, the seed movement will have its most power in regional movements.
Yeah.
And we're just one of those regions. And we're one of the first ones to really organize well, I think, and to put on our regional conference. Every year now there's a California Seed Growers Conference.
Yeah.
You know, and so that's another sign. And there's a organic grain growers conference in the northeastern United States. So we're seeing signs of that. And so we're all kind of coming up together, but it just makes sense. Once you learn how to grow and share seeds, who are you going to share them with? The people
Right.
Or your climate. And so, you know, in the end, I think it's biology that will delimit this movement toward us organizing together. And it will be these regional organizations that really represent the power of this movement. And I think that's the reason why we've got some great national speakers. They want to come and be part of this juju, you know, as it's first getting going. And,
Yeah.
And so I guess my invitation would be, if you live in a different region of the country and you really see the logic behind this, come to our Mountain West Seed Summit and see how we do it. We're learning on the fly, and we've got a lot to learn, I'm sure, but we also have a lot to share about what we've gone through to get to this point.
Yeah.
And so we'd love to be part of an association, I guess, of regional seed alliances throughout North America. And so come to one and see how we're doing it.
Now, so you just said that. We've known each other for at least a decade, and you just said an alliance of regional seed people. And this is something that's not new. This is not a new conversation. We've been having this conversation for a while. So tell us about that, because that is really epic.
Well, you know, I still really believe, and I know you do too, the most powerful thing a modern person can do probably is to start growing some of their own food.
Mm-hmm.
And saving some of their own seed. I mean, it's just such a profoundly powerful activity. It changes your consciousness and your politics, and it changes everything, and your health probably.
Yeah.
But and so that single act is really powerful. But when we then form alliances out of the people that are doing that, I'm convinced now that we can change everything. You know, in fact, we're going to have to do that if we want to change the politics and the way things are organized on our continent. There's just too many things being done at a policy and a political level now that can hurt us as individual savers. And so, you know, it's out of that is this new need to come together and get to know everybody. And then you get the added bonus of being able to share seeds with people who could really use them. And you can find new varieties that could really help you in a way that you couldn't in any other way. And so that's why these regional associations are so powerful and so necessary.
Yeah. So you've kind of alluded to this notion of we need to take our seeds back. And can you say a little bit more about that? Why is it important?
Well, first of all, I guess, we have allowed our business model to evolve to what I call a late-stage monopoly, stage. And so what that means is that the only seed companies left and really operational in the world on a large scale are monopolies. And there's a handful of them that are now controlling 60, 70, 80% of the world's seeds. And they continue to merge. In fact, we hear now that the new Trump administration is going to green light the sale of Syngenta to ChemChina, the largest chemical company in China.
Wow.
And that Syngenta will merge with Bayer, which is a Belgian company. And so the great seed companies that started in America aren't even going to be American-owned anymore.
Yeah.
And so what that means on a practical level, we could get into and try to argue whether that's good or bad. And I don't do that. I don't get into those arguments. The practical side of it is that it means that they're so big that they're not going to breed, produce, and sell seeds for you in your small ecoregion.
Right.
You're not a big enough market. And as we learn more and more about permaculture, we realize that if we're going to be resilient and sustainable into the future, we're going to have those sorts of things adapted to where we live. And so what they've done, in a sense, is opened it up for us. I like to see it as an opportunity. I mean, on the one hand, we say, oh, my gosh, there's nobody left breeding things for us on a small scale. On the other hand, we can say, wow, we get to be the ones that breed things and save seeds and distribute them on a small scale again.
Uh-huh.
And taking our seeds back, what I'm saying is that now we're going to push the reset button, and we're going to try to get back to where we were a couple of generations ago in America, where every small region had its own source for its own seeds adapted to that region.
Uh-huh.
And so what we're doing isn't even new. It's just like getting back to where we. And so, and that'll be done through seed library, through seed exchanges, and new small seed companies. And that's what we're trying to find and link and celebrate with our Rocky Mountain Seed Summit.
Nice. Again, the Rocky Mountain Seed Summit is March 3rd and 4th, 2017 in Santa Fe, New Mexico. RockyMountainSeeds.org. You can find all about it there. So in our pre-conversation that we had, we kind of touched base on several things of interest that have gone around in the country and in the world. And we talked a little bit about the International Seed Library Committee. What's going on with that?
Well, that's one of the working titles. It turns out that there are over 500 seed libraries have registered at seedlibraries.org.
Wow.
That are fully operational or they're organizing and about to open. And that's worldwide. And maybe more than 400 in the United States.
Wow.
This represents an incredible grassroots movement. And some patterns are starting to emerge. And that is the needs of these new grassroots organizations that are happening all across the country.
Mm-hmm.
Need help. How do I do this? What are the rules for this? How can I get other people to help me? Who can answer my questions about this? And so basically this committee has been formed to formalize an organization that would be there for all of these people. It would be a website. It would be a 911 number to call or to a place to email if you have legal problems.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Library. That's one of the things we talk about a lot. And a place where you can share information with all the other seed libraries. And so we met for the first time last summer at actually a group of people came together at the International Seed Library Conference that was held in Tucson a couple of springs ago.
Mm-hmm.
That was followed up last summer by a committee meeting at the Seed Savers Exchange picnic, their annual picnic in Decorah, Iowa.
Wow.
And then it's been followed up by a number of conference calls. And it turns out that Seed Savers Exchange, which is the largest seed exchange in the world, actually, and USC Canada, which is an equivalent seed education and exchange program in Canada, have decided to partner and put up the funds to actually get this thing off the ground.
Nice.
And so right now we're in a detail phase of what's it going to say, who's going to own it, control it, and how is it going to be done. And so it's an exciting new development, and I think it's just reflective of how the world is changing. We know that the seed industry, on the one hand, it continues to go into genetically modified seeds, patented seeds, and to be involved in larger and larger businesses.
Mm-hmm.
And as I said, on the other end, there's this new worldwide grassroots movement to take our seeds back. And this is going to be one of the tools that helps that happen.
Beautiful. So for our listeners that aren't familiar with the term seed library, what is it?
One of the things that becomes apparent once you start getting into the 400 seed libraries, even in the United States, is that they're all a bit different.
Oh, yes.
And so it may be that a real definite definition, has yet to be, is yet to come about. But what I like to say is that it's a place where you can go get your seeds for free locally.
Mm-hmm.
You go check them out, if you will, in a library type system. Now, it turns out that maybe half or more of the seed libraries are actually in book libraries.
Nice.
So it really is a library.
Yeah.
And you actually check them out the way you would a book. And then how do you check them back in? Well, that comes from a really, really old principle that Vandana Shiva is really helping to revive in India, and that is, if and when you can, you will grow enough seeds. You will learn how, and you'll grow enough seeds to check back into your seed library twice as many seeds as you checked out. And what that does is help to build the community resource.
Nice.
And so we've got some spectacular examples of that around the United States that are actually, or half or more of the seeds now in the libraries have actually been checked
back in? Oh, my gosh. How great is that?
Yeah, it's really, it's working. We do know how to do this. I really believe. I think a third grader can figure this out with the right information. I think we've had some third graders actually start seed libraries.
Nice.
Idea. Right now, you can go to seedlibraries.org. You can get the information on how to start your own seed library.
Yep.
You can see the list of sister libraries. You can see if there's any that are near you. If you go to the RockyMountainSeeds.org website, we're mapping all the ones in the Rocky Mountain West, and you can actually pull up a map and see where they all are and click on those and get information about the libraries that are starting to come around. So it's really exciting.
Beautiful, beautiful. One of the curious things that I noticed in one seed library was they had taken the old card file, that we used to look up.
Oh, yeah.
For us old schoolers at the library, you used to walk in and there was a paper file in drawers, and you'd open up these little long drawers, and in there would be the list of where the books were at.
Right.
And
card catalog.
Card catalog, exactly. And now they're using that to store seeds.
They're just those little index cards that were standard in every library in the world probably are the same size as the seed packet. Sideways. Yeah.
Isn't that epic?
And just at the time when all these seed libraries went electronic and didn't need their catalogs anymore, now they're focusing them. It's really an exciting development, I think.
Yeah, it really, really is. So, Experimental Farm Network. I've heard of that one here recently. What is that?
Well, I try to keep up on. I'm a real believer that we're, and I try to stay really positive, and I just don't fight against much. I'm not here to fight especially the world's largest corporations.
Yep.
I think enough work to do, doing the work, creating our own system. Until we have all local food and it all comes from local seeds, we have a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
And look around the United States at really great examples of people that are doing it, self-organized examples. And that's the category I would put on the Experimental Farm Network. And from what I can tell, it's in Pennsylvania, maybe based out of Philadelphia. It's 30 farmers. And these are small market gardeners, growers, farmers that have self-organized to start planting as many new and different kinds of things as they can, seeing if they work right where they live, and saving the seeds for those things that work best, and then starting to share them. And so they now have a seed list, and you can actually buy the seeds from the varieties that they've so far found that work best for them. Wow, this is exactly what we need to happen everywhere.
Yeah.
We're starting to see little of the examples of it, and that's just the latest. I know Casey O'Leary with her Snake River Seed Co-op in Boise, Idaho has done somewhat the same thing.
Yep.
White with the Sierra Seed Co-op have has one going. We're starting to see this throughout the United States. So that's just another example of these collective or cooperative ventures that are coming together to do the work that we really need to have done.
Yeah. Well, and the grain cooperative kind of fits underneath this as well.
Right. We've got a Rocky Mountain Heritage Grain Trials program. We've got 32, I guess, farmers, gardeners, and market-sized farmers that are doing this with grains that will be adapted to the Rocky Mountain West. And we started last year with about 113 different varieties. And some of them, Greg, when you get new grain varieties, if you get little packets of grains that are actually old grains that used to grow in the Rocky Mountain West,
right,
through what we call GRIN, the Genetic Resources Information Network, set up by the U.S. government, they only send you 50 seeds of each variety. And so last year we started with 50 seeds each of 113 different varieties. And we planted them out to see if they worked, and then we tried to increase the seeds so that more people could try them the next year.
Right.
And so this would take 2, 3, 4, 5 years before we get up to farm quantities, say 20 to 50-pound bags of these grains.
Uh-huh.
But by then, we know which ones work for us. And so we've started this process in the Rocky Mountain West. And again, if you're interested in doing that, you can go to our website and sign up. We're still looking for more people to help us do this.
To help grow them out.
To help grow them out, you know. And if you don't really know how to grow grains, great. If you know how to garden, we need you. Plant 50 of these things and tell them if they grow or not in
right.
your yard. And if the ones that grow, save the seeds from them. That's really all we need you for the first year. We've got a little grain trials manual that we've written up that will teach you how to do this through the first 3 years. It's based on other programs. Thank you, Monica Spiller. Thank you, Ellie Wigosa, and others that are blazing this trail in other regions of the country. But there's a lot of activity out there to try to get us up and operational around our own food system. It's really exciting.
Cool. So while we're on the subject of grains, I know you have a story inside of you about one of the really epic successes of a grain here in the Southwest. It's called Sonoran Wheat. I want you to tell that story.
Well, it's really one of the reasons why I'm so positive about this movement because, you know, I'm a cyclist and I like to do group rides with people my age. And I found myself at a table with a fellow who used to teach agriculture at the University of Arizona. And he had quit his job as a professor and then went to China and actually started a business, an agribusiness there with some partners. And they were dealing with large-scale agriculture. And he asked me what I did. At the time, I was the executive director of Native Seed Search and Seed Conservation Organization. And you could just see him look at me and go, "Oh, Bill, you know, I know that sounds really important, what you guys are doing, but you're so cute and small, and you'll never make a difference in the world."
Uh-huh.
Just this demeaning sort of attitude. And what I didn't get a chance to tell him the story, but what we had discovered wasn't just small and cute. It was now large and changing the world. And so that's the story. Basically, Sonoran Wheat was brought here by Father Kino. He was the first Catholic missionary to come into Arizona.
Uh-huh.
And when he came, he brought wafer wheat, they called it. This is the body of Christ. This is the wheat that they would grow and make those little wafers they would use every Sunday with the wine in their ceremony to, you know, symbolize the body of Christ. And so everywhere Catholic missionaries went, they brought their wheat. And it turns out this is one of the oldest wheat varieties there is. The Catholics in Spain who first came to the New World got it from the Moors, and they got it from the Fertile Crescent. This goes all the way back. And so all of a sudden, Arizona, Native Americans see this new crop being grown. It's a grain crop
uh-huh.
that can give them food. And it took them about a day to figure out. This is the Pima, the Sonora. This is the Gila River people. This is what we call the Tohono O'odham now.
Uh-huh.
Figured out how to grow wheat as well as corn, which is what they were growing before the missionaries came.
Right.
That's where they got the idea for flour tortillas. Within a few generations, they had one of the most beautiful and abundant agricultures in human history. especially along the Gila River. They had so much grain they sold it to both sides of the Civil War.
Oh, nice.
And there are flyers that say that after the war, that if you were going to the California Gold Rush from the East Coast, take the Santa Fe Trail, take the southern route, and come through the Gila River Valley. And those Native Americans there are so successful with their agriculture and so generous, they'll fill up your wagon with wheat on your way through so you'll have enough to eat. Do that.
Wow.
Well, this is Sonoran, what we came to know as Sonoran white wheat. Well, dawn of the modern era. The Gila River is dammed. The Gila River people's agriculture collapses. Within a generation, in the 40s and 50s, they're starving, actually.
Uh-huh.
And the seeds to this incredible wheat that had now been adapted for hundreds of years to the desert Southwest disappears. And the founder of Native Seed Search, Dr. Gary Nabin, found a couple of handfuls that were still being held by the Tohono O'odham. Brings them out. We start growing them at Native Seed Search. And within 3.5 years, we have 1,100 acres of it growing again as part of a SARE grant that we got originally to restart a local grain economy.
Nice. Yeah.
That's just how fast this can happen. Hayden Mills has been reopened, in Mesa and Chandler, Arizona area, and we're back up and running the way that was before this economy collapsed away. And so I like to think that what we're doing is important. Let's find the stuff that we used to be growing here a couple of generations ago, stuff that didn't need as much input, stuff that is adapted to this region. Even if we only find a handful or, say, 50 seeds of it, let's get started, and we can create an agriculture that's adapted to where we are.
Nice. You often talk about a seed steward and being a seed steward. Tell everybody what that is.
Well, what we discovered when we started the Rocky Mountain Seed Alliance is that, especially after my experience at Native Seed Search, is I didn't want to be part of $1 million nonprofit anymore. That had to use a lot of its energy just to maintain the nonprofit. What we really wanted to do was find out what was out there and hook it up and find out what we needed more of and educate people so that we could have more of that.
Mm-hmm.
In this journey in the last 2 years, we found these characters, Greg. These are real characters. These are people that have been growing and saving seeds for decades. They've been on this they've seen the need for this 10, 20, 30, some of them 40 years ago. And they have found varieties, whether they're grains or vegetables or crops they think will be important in the future, like amaranth, which is, as Thumbs Heath told me, is a pigweed that really doesn't need any inputs at all.
Right.
They've been growing and saving the varieties and breeding new varieties of these, in a sense, for decades. And so those are what we call seed stewards. These are people that are stepping up in their community, that are taking on this work, that will share the seeds with anybody who wants them, and will take the time to answer questions and educate and bring their communities up around them, around this important work. So that's really where our definition of seed steward comes from. Now, in the Rocky Mountain Seed Alliance, we allow anybody who wants to be a seed steward to sign up as one. And all we really require is that you grow and save the seeds seriously about at least one thing, all right? And you're willing to share it.
Mm-hmm.
And if people come and ask you and have questions about how you did what you did in your area, great. That's all you need to be a seed steward. And together we'll start this new network of people that can be the resources in their own communities. And again, if you go to RockyMountainSeedLine.org and look at our page under resources, you can search our directory of seed stewards around the Rocky Mountain West. And now actually we have people signing up throughout the United States.
I saw that.
You can either map it, and when the map comes up, you can click the people that are closest to you and find them and email them directly if you have any questions.
Yeah.
And if you want to be one of those people, sign up and help us. That's what the Rocky Mountain Seed Alliance is. It's you. It's everybody out there. We're just trying to hook everything up using the new tools that we have. And then we're going to get out of the way and go home and save our own seeds and be part of this beautiful network.
Perfect. So, Carol Depp has a new zucchini out that you told me about the other day. Tell us about that, please.
Bing, 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 bing. If you could dream up the perfect seed steward, it would be somebody who taught genetics at Harvard for 25 years, has impeccable credentials, and then moves home to save their own seeds in their own backyard for more than 15 years. That's Carol. And she doesn't really have a seed company, she says, but she has a seed list. And if you want the seeds of the things that she saved or bred in her own backyard, you can do that. And so she just announced not just a new zucchini, but a whole new class of squash, as she calls it. And it's called Golddini because it's yellow. And so it's a yellow zucchini, so it has extra carotene in it. We know it's more nutritious. She claims that those are the things that bring flavor. That color actually brings flavor to it. But she has selected, she's bred for and selected it so that when it's really young, you can eat it fresh right out of your garden like you would a cucumber. It's the first new, what she calls cucumber squash. Wow, what a great idea. Just pick them and eat them fresh right in your garden. They're so delicious and crispy. Or if you want to let it grow a little bit longer, you can let it grow into a zucchini, and you can harvest it and lightly steam it or stir fry it, and you've got delicious fresh zucchini. Or if you forget about it, like all of us do usually with our zucchini, and some of them get beyond the fresh stage, and it bloats into this big thing, in Carol's, in Golddini's case, it becomes a delicious and storable winter squash. So you get all three classes of squash, as she calls it, in one new gold package, Golddini. Yeah. Wow, this is being a steward on steroids.
Nice. So I'm on Carol Deppe, DEPPE.com, and that's where we find out about the Golddini squash, if you're interested. Sounds amazing. It absolutely sounds amazing.
Well, and so, in the past, in the last couple of generations, if someone like that did the work, Carol would have patented it or sold rights to another large company to market it. This isn't the new world. Carol is board actually of the Open Source Seed Initiative. And so what she's done is put protections around her seeds so that they stay in the public domain, that nobody can ever take the genetic work that she's done and patent it anywhere down the line.
Nice.
And help the Open Source Seed Initiative, if you really believe in things like this. Help Carol out. This is really a beautiful statement of where we're going in this world.
So, Bill, I know that Rocky Mountain Seed Alliance and seedsave.org and Urban Farm U, we all do a lot of seed training. And I know that you also have a Denver seed school coming up in April. Can you tell us about that?
Yes. Our goal at Rocky Mountain Seed Alliance is to use 80% of our energy either in building our network through the directories like I've been talking about on our website, or inspiring and teaching new people to become part of that network. It just seems to be the most important thing. We need 1 million new seed savers. That's something that another campaign I've been trying to get started. And so in view of that, we always try to have educational events lined up so that people from all over the world, and they come and learn how to go from 0 to 60 and get up and running and around seeds. We've got 19 now of our graduates from our 6-day seed schools have started their own small seed companies. And those numbers of seed libraries and others as a result. So the next iteration is in Denver. It's at the Posner Center. It's going to be April 2nd through the 7th. And again, you can sign up at RockyMountainSeeds.org. It is a 6-day immersion. Will it take probably 25 students? And so don't wait too long if you're interested in this. And you can get all the information. But I will be there teaching it along with several other superstars and others that have been through our seed school teacher training program.
Oh, yeah. I was going to ask you about that next.
Yeah, we have another one of those on the books now, October 1st through the 6th. And we're going to do that one also in Denver, Colorado. And it's an incredible opportunity. If you're ready, if you're an activist, if you've been saving seeds, if you see just how important it is that we get thousands of people up and running around seed saving and teaching around seed saving, think about coming to our seed school teacher training. We have an application. We pick the very best people to be part of that program. So if you think you're up to that, do it. We've got a thing now we call Seed School Online. Mm-hmm. And that, I think I'm doing that with you, Greg, and that's going to be available in March. And all of the people that go to our Seed School teacher training get access to that. Yeah. So it's sort of a Seed School Online on steroids to get you ready with the material, and then we teach you how to highlight and deliver that material in the most efficient manner possible, learning everything that we've learned through the West Coast permaculture movement over the last 20 years. And everything we've learned through our 30 or so seed schools we've taught now with maybe over 900 graduates. And so that's the lineup that we've got coming in. It's really exciting.
If you're interested in Seed School Online, it relaunches on March 1st, and you can find out about that at seedschoolonline.com. So, you talk about this notion of being the people of the pinch, and I saw that vividly when you were talking about the Sonoran white wheat, where you got down to a few handfuls of seeds, and now here, 6 years later, we've got tens of thousands of pounds of Sonoran white wheat that are being grown. So, talk to us about the people of the pinch.
Well, this came out of the end of lectures that I do in my seed schools, and it was actually students who came up with the idea of people of the pinch. What I was talking about is that there are estimates, and you can see this in the movie Seed the Untold Story, which is going around, which I heard just the other day will soon be on PBS.
Oh, nice.
That we've lost maybe 90 to 94% of the diversity in our agriculture. What that means is that more than 90% of all the varieties of all the vegetables and grains that we had maybe around the turn of the century in the United States are no longer being used. They're no longer available.
Yeah.
I don't think they're all extinct. They're just not there. And so that, after 10,000 years of creating an agriculture that was adapted to every little niche, ecological niche, every cultural niche around, our great continent and in our great nation, within 2 generations to lose over 90%, that's profound. And there are those of us that, we know biologically that the strength of your ecosystem is going to be how much diversity you have.
Yeah.
And now we're facing all this incredible uncertainty into the future with climate change, with political change. We're going to need all the diversity we have, folks. And so I'm positive about it. I think we're waking up. I think the seed library movement, the movement of new small regional seed companies, the seed schools, and the people signing up, all of that is indicative that we're turning the corner, that we're waking up, that we understand how important this is. And so just for a minute, I reflected back. What is it going to look like in 1,000 years when we look back at this moment? 10,000 years of agriculture created all the diversity. We got down to losing 90% of it in the early 21st century, and then we grew it all back. And now here we are, 1,000 years into the future. We're sitting happy and fat with all this diversity again and all this beautiful abundance in our own local food systems. And we're going to look back at these people in the early 21st century that took on this responsibility to save those handfuls of Sonoran white wheat and grow them back again and grow back everything that we've lost. And so that's where this idea, those are the people of the pinch. They may be the most important people living in the early 21st century when all is said and done. Because if you don't have those seeds, you won't have an agriculture. And I think once we look back at this era from our vantage point in the future, we'll understand that that's true. So join us. Be a person of the pinch with us.
Become a seed steward.
Yeah, become a seed steward. That's it. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for joining us on the show and sharing your experience with us today, Bill. It has been a treat getting to chat with you.
Oh, Greg, it's a pleasure and an honor anytime. The work that you do is so important, not only in your own backyard and what you've done with the urban farm over all these years, but what you do to get this word out, through Urban Farm use. So thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Thank you. So website again for the summit?
RockyMountainSeeds.org.
Perfect. And you can find show notes from today's podcast at urbanfarm.org/seed summit. Well, that's it for today. Thanks for joining us on the Urban Farm Podcast. Greg Peterson here, and I want to thank you for listening to the Urban Farm Podcast. We wouldn't be able to keep doing these great shows without you. So as a token of my appreciation, I'd like to offer you access to a list of our top 10 episodes I personally find most inspiring. If you enjoy the Urban Farm Podcast but don't have time to listen to every one, then you will love this list. Although all our guests have great information to offer, if you are short on time, these 10 are must-listens. To get access to the top 10 most inspiring podcast episodes, text FARMER to 44222. That's FARMER to 44222. And enjoy listening.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode of the Urban Farm Podcast. Remember to listen 3 days a week for tips, advice, and resources to help you on your journey with urban farming. You can find us on the web at urbanfarm.org or send us an email to podcast@urbanfarm.org. In the words of Vincent van Gogh, great things are done by a series of small things brought together. Be encouraged that with each lesson learned and skill developed, you are one step closer in the direction of your dreams.